What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this Honda lawn mower, and the problem is we just got this engine spinning freely again, but I still don't know if we can get it running like it's supposed to. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this mower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. So in the last video, we found out that this engine had been running for a long time while low on oil and eventually locked up. However, after it cooled down, the engine wasn't locked up anymore, but the rope was impossible to pull. We then found out that the clutch system that this mower was equipped with had failed and that both bearings needed to be replaced. Now, after replacing the bearings, the engine now spins freely like it's supposed to. However, we then found out that the rope is slow to retract. We also have a few other small things we need to replace and maintain, then it should be ready for the mowing season. Even though the oil level was low, we did drain what was left out of the engine in the last video, and with the gas already drained from the tank, we can now safely tip the mower on its side so we can service the wheels. Now, you don't have to tip the mower over, but it just makes filming a lot easier. And as you can see, for some reason, the front wheels don't want to spin freely at all. We can also check to see why these wheels are wobbly. So here's something interesting. This wavy washer isn't supposed to be on the outside of the wheel. It's meant to go on the inside. Now this may be the reason why this wheel wasn't spinning freely. Now with the wheel out of the way, we can see just how much the adjusting arm moves about. The next step would be to remove the arm and see what's causing it to be so loose. So it looks like the adjusting arm rotates on the shouldered bolt and held away from the deck by this large spacer. Now both the hole in the arm and the bolt are worn, so both would need to be replaced so the front end doesn't wobble. For the meantime, I think I'll move the large washer from the deck to support the arm against the spacer and replace the large washer with a smaller washer for now until I get the new parts. And besides, it wouldn't hurt to see if this is a good option to buying $50 worth of front end components just so the wheels are less wobbly. After the arm is back into position, I'll try moving it back and forth to see if it made any difference. I'm not 100% sure that it's any better, but I do feel that it's a tad less wobbly. Now before putting the wheels back on, I'll lubricate the bearings on the inside and the outside of the wheels. And of course, don't forget that the wavy washer goes on the inside of the wheel and not the outside. Now with the bearings lubricated and the washer in the right location, the wheel spins a lot easier, which should make pushing it a lot easier as well. It's now time to do the same thing to the drive wheels in the rear. Unfortunately, these won't be as easy as the front wheels. With the rear wheel off, we can now see the drive gear, and it looks like there's a lot of dirt stuck to the old grease. I'm going to clean it off with some brake cleaner before I try to take off the gear so we can clean and lubricate the key that it rides against. Now, it's best to use a pair of snap ring pliers to remove the clip, but you could get away with some other creative methods. Now, after the clip is gone, we can then take off the washer, followed by the gear. Just be careful as the key is spring-loaded, so you need to put a finger on it before you completely take the gear off the axle. Once everything is off the axle, we can then use some brake cleaner on it to remove all the dirt and old grease, and don't forget to clean the gear as well. Now after that, put some lithium grease on the gear and the axle and the slot where the spring is located. That way the key moves freely and smoothly, and the drive gear spins on it without worrying that it will prematurely wear. We can then reinstall the key and the gear and load it up with some more grease, followed by the washer and the clip. Once we finish installing the drive gear, we can then lubricate where the wheels rotate with more lithium grease. If you don't have any lithium grease, use whatever you have to help reduce the friction there. I know some people would tell you not to use multi-purpose grease, but it's definitely better than having nothing. After that, we can then lubricate the bearings and then install the wheels back on the mower. Now that the wheels are done, we can now remove and replace that modified governor spring. Now the new spring was only a few dollars, but it should keep us from over-revving the engine, which is what the modified spring was causing us to do. After it's been replaced, move the throttle lever from low speed to high speed and finally to choke to make sure that it's not binding and working like it's supposed to, which ours is. The next thing to do is to remove the recoil and see what's causing the rope not to retract smoothly. After getting it on the table and pulling on the rope a few times, I'm going to guess that the spring is causing the problem. Now before I would have just sprayed some lubricant on the spring through one of the openings, but this time I'm going to take the pulley out so I can take off the spring for a thorough cleaning and lubrication. Just as a tip, this bolt is left-hand thread, so to remove it, you need to turn the bolt clockwise. Just be very careful when taking off the pulley, the spring might go flying everywhere. Now after separating it from the cover and out of the pulley, you can see that the spring really isn't that bad. I was expecting to see some surface rust, but it doesn't have any. Next, use a towel with some carb cleaner or brake cleaner on it and remove any dirt and old oil off the spring surface. Then we'll wind the spring by hand and then reinstall it back into the pulley and then lubricate it. When it comes to winding up the spring, I know there are a couple of gadgets on the market that will help me do this, but I'm just so used to doing it by hand. If you only intend on doing this job once, it may not be worth buying a gadget to help wind up springs either. As far as lubrication, use whatever you have around. However, I would not suggest using any grease, as dirt will stick to it and make it worse. After getting the spring back into the pulley, I want to clean the part of the cover that's still dirty, otherwise it may transfer over to the clean spring. Now cleaning and lubricating the spring is something that you don't need to do very often. In fact, if you do it this way, you may not have to touch the spring again for some time. Now after the cover is clean, I'll put some more lubricant on it, which of course is optional, and then replace the pulley and the spring. Just line up the hooked end of the spring in the slot in the post in the middle of the cover. Next, we need to replace both pawls and then the spring, and then followed by the guide plate and the retaining bolt. Now once this is done, we need to pull the rope out and then wind up the recoil spring. Now when it comes to winding the spring, turn the pulley counterclockwise, and this time I'll make 4 revolutions, but you can do more if you want. However, just be careful, as too many revolutions will cause the spring to bind up when you pull on the rope. After you're done, pull the rope a couple of times, making sure that the spring doesn't bind up and the rope retracts smoothly, which ours is. Just out of curiosity, since this engine was ran low on oil for such a long time, I want to use my compression tester to see if the rings have been damaged. You can find these online for less than $20, and to use it, just install it in the spark plug hole and pull the rope several times. We want to see a reading well over 100 psi, and the higher the better. Anything lower than that just means the engine is worn to some extent. And before I forget, I need to add some oil to the engine. Oh, and since the recoil is off the engine, I also want to use a drill to turn the engine over. That way we can bypass the compression release and get a real reading from the engine. So the reading is 160 psi, which is fantastic considering that the engine was low on oil and that it was over revved as well. The bad news is that there was a terrible knocking sound coming from the engine, which means that the bottom end and not the top end of the engine might have been damaged from the low oil situation. Now just for fun, I'll replace the recoil assembly and do the test again and see what the difference is. So the second reading is 110 psi, which is still pretty good even with the compression release. The last thing to do is put some gas in the tank, choke the carburetor, and try starting it. Hopefully there isn't a knocking noise coming from the engine like there was when we were using the drill to turn the engine over. Well, that answers that question. This engine didn't get away undamaged from running low on oil and being over-revved. It would appear that the engine is knocking rather loudly, and I'm not sure when the connecting rod is going to break, but I bet it's going to be soon. Now, as far as the rest of the mower goes, the blades turn off and on, and the self-propel seems to work just fine. However, with a bad engine, this mower isn't going to go anywhere. Now, another reason why this engine might be knocking could be the lack of oil changes, although usually the rings will get damaged first and then the engine loses compression. However, having dirty oil in the engine is still better than having little to no oil. So my question is, what should we do with this mower? Should we rebuild it or possibly find another engine to replace this one? Or should we just keep it for parts? Personally, I'd like to find another engine for it. The reason is a cost issue. Now, the connecting rod isn't that expensive, but once we get inside the engine, we could find that we have to replace more than just the rod. Then the cost might skyrocket. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.